I helped create and get off the ground NFL Total Access so analysts like you can have salient points like the one that you made last night. I'll be very honest with you,
gave
David.
us the freedom to do that, and I appreciate that.
All right. Okay, I appreciate the sentiment and the shout out, but I'll give you the floor on put a little bit of meat on the bones on saying that the Jets are going to make the playoffs, David.
Well, I mean, if you don't have hope at this point, I mean, what do you have? So I think that there's always a glimmer of hope for every team. But when you really come down to it and you look at the league, and you know this as well as anybody, it never goes how we planned. And, yeah, you could say – it's easy to say, okay, the Jets make a little bit of a jump. And I kind of hear that. I hear, okay, maybe they'll win 7 or 8 games. And maybe they will. But when I look at it, I like to see trends. And you can look at young quarterbacks and young head coaches, and you can see a pattern developing. So you look at Zach Wilson. And I love Zach. I think he's an incredible talent. I love watching him throw the football. There are few guys that I actually get excited about watching on tape, and Zach is one of them. And so he has all that ability, and he's aggressive. So he's going to make some turnover-worthy plays, but he's also going to make some big plays, and he's young. And what I loved about what the Jets did is they didn't babysit him. They didn't hold his hand through the season. I mean, there were different quarterbacks that were rolling in there like, okay, we're going to compare you to these veteran guys and some of these guys that have played football before, and you're going to have to do the things that are necessary to win football games. We're going to ask you to make big throws on third down. We're not going to ask you to just, throw the ball 3 times and win a football game. That's not how they handled Zach, and I loved watching it. I mean, when he came back from his injury, I thought he played fantastic, albeit what was around him. I mean, he had some guys that were hurt. When he came back, now some of the guys that could normally be thrown to weren't out there, So I look at the offensive line and what they could be healthy. Vera Tucker, I thought, played as good as anybody in the league. You go out and you sign Lincoln Tomlinson and you have Becton. That could be a solid offensive line. And then not even counting, adding Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson and C.J. Uzomah and Tyler Conklin. I mean, there's some good football players that have joined this team. And that's not even counting the defensive guys. And I love Robert Saleh. I think Robert Saleh is a fantastic human being, fantastic coach. I knew him when he was a quality control guy in Houston with Kyle Shanahan on that staff. And that's where they kind of hit it off. And they obviously work together at San Francisco. But Robert cares about every individual in that building, and so guys feel that is not a question mark for me as far as building a young team. I guess all that to be said, they have a lot of young talent that doesn't even know that they shouldn't go to the playoffs next year.
So they could be one of those teams where the players don't know what they don't know, and that can actually be to their benefit. Of course, timing's everything, David. So it would be just the Jets' luck that they get all of these young kids to start playing so well and start to gel behind a head coach who's talented enough to corral it. And it's the deepest the conference has ever been. That's another challenge that a team like the Jets, or let's just say the Dolphins, put it all together in that division. How are you even going to crack the top 7, right? I mean,
there's no doubt. I mean, you look at their first 10 games that they have to play. I mean, this is like the NFL is just out to get the Jets, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is like several years in a row where they've not been favorable. I mean, they play the entire AFC North. They got to play the Dolphins, the Packers, they're playing the Patriots, the Bills. Obviously, their own division is going to be tough. But I don't know. I really think that when you have a young team like this, I mean, just look at it's happened in the recent past. You look at like 2018, the Texans were like 4-12. Ended up going 11-5. Like, no one saw that coming. The Jags did something like that, 2017-ish. I mean, it was Blake Bortles, and they went from like 3 wins to 10-6. Like, who saw that? And you know what that was? That was like there was a defensive coach, which I think Robert Saleh, this is a great pairing because I love his offensive system that he has with LaFleur. I think he'll get better as a play caller. He obviously was a young guy doing that last year, so he'll improve. I love the system, but I think that you had Solomon Thomas, you had some of the pieces on the defensive side. They didn't play great towards the end of the year on defense, but they will play better. Robert will put together a great defense. And so those kind of jumps happen. They just randomly happen. So it doesn't, I mean, it's not like something that you're going to say, you're not penciling in the Jets for 12 wins. But you know what? They could do it. They could easily do it because that kid is fearless. Zach Wilson is absolutely fearless. So, for me, I'd roll the dice, and that's why I said what I said the other day. I mean, it was Joe Namath, and it was we were talking about how he guaranteed the victory, and I just said, you know what, the Jets are. I've been high on the Jets since the draft, obviously since watching their young players play. I love Robert Saleh, and maybe I'm a little biased there, but I like a lot of their pieces. So I'm excited to watch them play football this year.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.